What's up, guys? I wanted to make a quick update video for you, just closing up the shop for the day. I am working on editing shop truck videos, so those are coming, but in the meantime, I didn't want to keep you waiting and make sure I get a video out. So just an update on what's going on. So here is the motorized bike project, and we're heading into winter now, so I'm not going to be riding it much anymore. My plan is to winterize it and kind of get it packed away for the winter. So I'll have a video coming out hopefully in the near future on that. Getting the oil out of it, changing the oil for the first time, which I should have done a long time ago. Running the gas out, things like that. Maybe put it up so it's not sitting on the tires, put it on blocks or something, but we'll see what that ends up being. Other than that, I've got a new project that's going to be coming up. Step outside here. So I don't want to get too many things going at once and 10 different series on the channel and things like that, but let me catch you up on what's going on with the shop truck, and then I will show you the surprise new project at the end of the video. So here's what we've got on the shop truck. All of the wood has been on for a couple of weeks now. We just met the deadline of the car show that I was shooting for. Got all of these on. These two boards are completely bolted. We've got, except for the center, I'll show you what we're going to do there, but these are completely bolted. This one is about halfway done. Sorry about the exposure here. There we go. And then this half is halfway drilled, but not, just the nuts aren't on yet, so it's getting close. I've gone through a lot of drill bits, and I finally bought a good drill bit. The bit is actually made by, it's either Norseman or Viking, one or the other, but it's out of Minnesota. And just to quickly tell you what's going on with that, I went through, I think, 4 different grades of Century bits. Those are just what's available in town. I went through the cobalt, the high-speed steel, the titanium, and they're all just junk. I would get 2 or 3 holes at most, and this stuff isn't anything major. It's what is this, probably 1/8 inch rusty old steel, mild steel, and it can't even go through that. And I was going low and slow, using cutting oil, using different penetrants, things like that, and it just wasn't working. So finally I bought this new bit, and I've gone through, geez, this whole back half, so 6, 8, 10, 12, maybe 20 or 30 holes, and it's still cutting just fine. So we're going through 10 times the amount of holes, and I'm still cutting with it. So anyway, plan is to get this all bolted down before winter, which is going to be happening in the next month or so. Also, I need to go over and get, I've just been using this 2-inch bar, or pipe I should say. I need to actually get that to be a bar, a solid 2-inch bar, and then I need to bolt on this plate right here. So that's like the pivot plate. So that's another thing I want to get done before winter. And then I also want to get the hoist secured to the bed so that it's operable also before winter. So those are a couple things yet to do. As far as tires, I think I mentioned the tire situation at the end of the last video. I can't remember exactly, but this rear tire on the outside was flat. It just had a bad tube. So I got that tube replaced, and you can see it's not the best tire. It was flat for a long time. We'll see how long it lasts. Being a tube tire, I can get maybe a little more life out of it. I'd like to not have to replace that because that's a pricey piece. But also got new front tires. These are 14 ply over-the-road semi-truck tires, and they're really nice. They're going to be on here for a long time. I'm told that guys are putting on, I don't know a lot of trucking knowledge, but hundreds of thousands, maybe even million miles with these type of tires, and I'm going to be putting on maybe a couple thousand miles a year. So I'm told they're going to rot off of the truck before I wear out the tread. So hopefully that's not the case. I'm going to keep protectant or shine on them at all times if I can take care of them. Another thing that I did is the tank was leaking, and so I got this. I tried a couple products actually. I tried Seal All. You can see the two holes here. So what this was is the nameplate, I can show you on the other side, was right here, and it was seeping out a little bit of gas every time I would fill up all the way. So I thought there was just a couple pinholes. Well, I took off that nameplate, and there is like a maybe half-inch hole here, and then two little 3/16-ish holes over there. So it's very serious. So I got some Seal All that was supposed to seal leaky gas tanks, and that did not work. I tried Flex Seal, that did not work. So I finally went with JB, it's not actually JB Weld, but it's JB Weld's version of a gas tank repair. And I don't have the tank full at the moment, but I'm just letting this cure really good, and then I'm going to fill it up and see how it does. So that's what that looks like. Another repair we did just this last weekend is under the mat here, the floors are not great. There's a couple maybe 3-inch holes right under here. Not the best. But anyway, one of those was right where the throttle pedal bolts to the floor. And so what would happen is when you hit the gas, it would throw off the alignment of this throttle rod, and all of a sudden the gas would just fall to the floor basically. So you'd have to try really hard, it like stuck, and then you'd just go nuts. So it made it really hard to drive, being a clutch manual vehicle. It would just kind of jump in gear and you'd have all kinds of trouble. But now we took a strip of sheet metal that runs all the way across here, and there was a bolt over here already, so we bolted it down there and then riveted it in 5 or 6 spots across here wherever there was good metal. So that's solid, and then the plate that attaches to the pedal is now bolted to that new plate. So it's perfect. It feels so much better, and it's so much nicer to drive like that. So that's great. I can show you, oh, and I don't know if I've talked about my CB a little bit, but I got a new microphone and actually a hanger, or a keeper I guess they call it. So that's pretty cool. The CB mic just hangs right there in the windshield. I'll show you under the hood. I haven't done a whole lot under here, but I replaced all 3 belts. It's got 2 belts that run the water pump and the alternator, and then an additional belt that runs what they call the power steering. It's pretty interesting, the power steering setup. It's got hydraulic that run over to this kind of helper ram, and I don't even completely understand how it works, but I changed all 3 of those belts. What else have I done under here? The voltage regulator was acting up and not charging the battery appropriately. I think it was charging like 17 or 18 volts, and I realized, you can see it right up there. Hopefully the lighting is as good on the video as it is here, but it looks good. You can see that small hole on the left side of the voltage regulator. That is actually an adjustment screw. So you can adjust the output of the voltage regulator, which is really cool. It was charging like 17 volts, and so I turned that screw, and it actually increases the distance between the contacts of the solenoid inside of the voltage regulator, and it changed it immediately. So I cranked it down to like 13.5, which seems to be a lot better. And then another thing that made a big difference with how this thing starts is the ground to the chassis was really bad. So, or to the body, I guess I should say. What I used to have to do is click the key like 8 or 10 times, something like that, and it would finally slowly kind of turn the engine over. And it actually sounded like a bad starter gear. It would just kind of grind and slowly finally start. But now we fixed that ground up, and I won't actually start it, but I'll just turn the key so you can hear how good it sounds. Let me throw it in neutral here. Listen to this. So that's really good. You just touch the key and it turns over. Awesome. We're still working on getting the carburetor set just right, and I think I've got some junky gas in it right now, so I don't want to struggle with trying to start it, but that was a nice improvement. I think that's about it on the shop truck for now. Like I said, there are more videos coming out, things that we're planning to do. I'm working on the brakes in one of the videos. Another one is going to be repainting some components like the mirrors, the mirror bars, maybe the rims, stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. And finally, right behind me here is the newest project that will be a new series starting here shortly. And I'll turn you around and show you. This is my 1944 Ford 2N tractor, and this has been sitting here for years. I bet it's coming up on 3 years it's been sitting here, and I've always wanted a war era 6-volt, actually what I really want is a magneto hand crank start 2N tractor on steel, and this is kind of the closest I've gotten to that so far. So this is going to be the next project. So far we've done just a couple things, points, condenser, new plug wires, a couple new coil, like a new coil wire and a new charging wire to the generator. It's got a new battery, a new carburetor, and then it had a new starter 3 years ago, and it has unfortunately sat out uncovered. But the starter still works fine, it just doesn't look quite as nice as it did. Anyway, plans for this, I'd like to fully restore it, but we're kind of working just to get it functional, running good and in good condition to drive in and out of the shop throughout the winter, so that I'm thinking we can park it inside during the winter. We can move it out if needed, and then we can kind of chip away at it when things are slow at the shop. So 2 or 3 years ago, I should say, I did the starter, I did the intake and exhaust gaskets, I did plugs, cap, coil, rotor, basic stuff like that. And at the time I tried to rebuild the carburetor, and the carburetor was just too far gone. It never really ran well. So finally I got the motivation to come back to it a couple of weeks ago. Got the new carburetor on it, had to redo the points and condenser again, and now let me actually give it a start for you guys. So we still need to adjust the carburetor. It's not perfect yet, but I'll give it some choke here, key on, maybe a little more throttle, and see what happens. Isn't that cool? better shut it off. We don't currently have a radiator on it. Reason being, you have to get the radiator off to get the hood off, and I wanted to get the hood off to have much better access to working on things. And we actually tried to just fill it with water just to run it, and we found that there's a leak right in this area. One of the freeze plugs is leaking, so we're going to end up replacing both freeze plugs there, and then I believe there's actually a third freeze plug right here where there's this cobbled up welding mess, so we'll clean that up also in the series at some point. So that's that for now, and I think that's all I've got for this update video. Just wanted to kind of catch you guys up on what's going on, and I'll look forward to getting those shop truck videos out, and then soon we'll be starting this series. So stay tuned, like and subscribe if you're not already, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. So I'll see you guys in the next video.